Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. We are here today to talk about AI. I'm so excited because I'm now a AI geek in the HR sense and any other sense that I can be. But we are here today with an expert, Steve Brown. He's one of the leading voices, literally in the world, on how to successfully implement AI, artificial intelligence, in the workplace so that your employees actually feel valued and not threatened by AI. Ooh, this is going to be so juicy. So today we're going to be focusing on human-centered AI adoption in the workplace. Welcome, Steve Brown. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Wendy. Glad to be with you.
Yeah, tell our listeners about yourself and how you got to be like the AI leading voice literally in the world.
Yeah, I've been fascinated by the future since I was a little boy. I grew up in England, so I have this outrageous British accent. But I've been in the US now for about 30 years. I've always been in AI, high tech, digital transformation. I've just been fascinated by the topic for a long time. Most of my career, I worked at Intel, the chip company. I left them over 10 years ago and went out trying to help companies as an independent futurist. I was a futurist both at Intel and more recently at DeepMind. DeepMind is Google's AI research labs. And I help companies to understand where is technology going and how do they use it to advance their business and serve people better. And I've had a range of clients in every industry you can imagine, and I love what I do.
I love it. Well, I love what you do too. I mean, it's so exciting and at the same time scary for many employees. So I want to kind of talk about like fear versus opportunity. You yourself had said that companies are approaching artificial intelligence all the wrong way. Why do so many employees fear AI instead of seeing it as a tool for their growth?
So I think it's really a failure of leadership. And it's not really leaders' fault. A new technology has come along and they're treating it like all the previous technologies. And AI is not the same. It is different, fundamentally different. Um, I talk about this in the book as 20th versus 21st century thinking. 20th century thinking is, hey, IT has brought me another shiny new technology. What can I do to cut costs and improve productivity? And that's been a playbook that has served leaders well for 50 years. So I don't blame them for thinking, well, that's what I have to do with AI.
Right.
Let's do some labor substitution, some cost cutting. Let's keep laser focused on productivity, and let's have some ambitions for incremental gains as a result. And that incremental thinking and a focus on the inputs that you have. And I mean, as a manager, as a leader, what you're doing is managing scarce resources. You're managing those inputs to get the best outputs you can. 21st century thinking is you shift from thinking about labor substitution to instead labor amplification. How do I pair people with AI, amplifying their intelligence, their reach, their abilities, so that I can create more value? So instead of cost cutting, and you can do some cost cutting with AI, of course, but really the benefit, the opportunity is to focus on value creation. How do I have much more impact in the world and get paid for it? So it's a shift from incremental thinking to exponential thinking, and a shift from focusing on those inputs to instead focusing on the outputs. What's the impact that we want to have? And instead of how do we grow our company 10% or 15% or 20% next year, how do we grow 10x? And that's literally what you can do if you become an AI first company and embrace intelligence at scale, because you can really shift and notch your ambition up quite a bit.
So, what does it actually mean to become an AI first company today, not 5 years from now?
Yeah, I suppose to explain what AI first is I first need to sort of walk you through what are the three stages of AI transformation. Because some people aren't even aware that there are these three steps and they get stuck on some of them. So let me walk you through the steps. First step is enablement. So enabling your workforce with AI powered tools. And some businesses think that's all it is. I sometimes consult with a business and I'll go in and the CEO will bound over and tell me how proud they are that they have a site-wide chat GPT license for all their employees. And they look at me like I'm going to tell them, oh, my job is done. You don't need me here. And I have to break it to them. Okay, well, that's good. That's necessary, but insufficient. There's a lot more you have to do. You've maybe released 2% of the value that AI is going to give you by doing that. So
Hmm.
what are the next steps, right? The next steps, step two is re-engineering, looking at every business process, every workflow that you have, breaking it down into tasks, and then figuring out which of these tasks is still best done by a human and which is now best done by an agent, so a piece of software. Think of it as a digital employee, an autonomous agent, intelligence, or if you have a physical component to your work, a robot. And then how do I gracefully coordinate all of those three working together? So it's a different way about thinking about workforce planning. And from an HR perspective, this is where HR can really lean into the process. But they have new partners here, which is the IT department.
Yes.
IT needs to become a strategic partner to line of business alongside HR to rethink everything. So that's the re engineering step. And then once you've done that, you can get to the third step. And that's where you become AI first. There, you're shifting from using AI to building your entire organization around AI as the engine at the center of your business. So it's really a reimagining of how you deliver value. What you're trying to do is build rapid learning loops, deliver hyper personalization at scale for all your customers, to use AI to collapse constraints. What I mean by that is basically time and money. How do you do things, 100 times faster or 100 times cheaper than you could before? And in some cases, how do you unbundle work? Look at roles and how which pieces could be done by AI, which now still needs to be done by a human because there's a trust or relationship component. And all of that process might sound very scary, right? Instead of
Yes, it does.
yeah, instead of people being the engine of my business, now AI is the engine of my business. So QED, I don't need people anymore. No, you absolutely still need people because you wrap people around that engine. You still need people to guide that engine, point it in the right direction, to handle exceptions when there are errors or corner cases or things go wrong, to provide that oversight, to manage governance, ethics, and really to have the vision for what, once you've built this engine, what do you want to do with it? Where are you going to point it? Where are you going to point it next? And how are you going to continuously improve that? So you need people for all of that work. So you still need
Absolutely.
people, and you may need more people than you had before. But now you are complementing your human intelligence with machine intelligence and creating something entirely new. And we're in a race now to get to that endpoint as soon as possible. Because here's the bad news. This is the
I don't
stick
like bad
part.
news, Steve.
Yeah, I know, Wendy, I know. This is the stick part of it, which is that laggards are going to fade to irrelevance. Yeah, anybody that follows that 20th century thinking, cost cutting, they won't be around 5 years from now because they will be left behind by the companies that amplify themselves and are able to grow 10x or 100x, making their competitors irrelevant. So winners are going to deliver exponential growth, and that's exciting.
And what are those three steps called?
Enable, re-engineer, and reimagine.
Reimagine. Okay. All right. I'm writing that down because I am a self-professed AI geek. And as I'm learning more and more about how it could help me do everyday things, and I'm teaching HR people how to use the basics, there's still a lot that all of us need to know. And in fact, I was looking up some statistics and from McKinsey State of AI report. They're
Mm.
saying that 78% of organizations use AI in at least one business function already. And, we're just getting into the what the majority of the population thinks is the entry level of AI, even though AI has probably been around for a while, right?
Yeah, and it's not like we've not been through these types of transitions before. I've just talked about AI first businesses. We've had mobile first businesses and cloud first companies and internet first companies. In each case, it is having a new mindset and the conviction and the courage to drive and try something new. And the risk is traditional businesses can get left behind. If we go back to the internet era, there were traditional companies, think Sears in a retail context. There were internet first companies. A good example there would be Target, right? They put all of their sales online, all their inventory management. I mean, they really became focused on the internet. And then you've got your internet native companies. Poster child there would be Amazon. And the only way to inoculate yourself against an attack from a native company is to become a first company. So, Target's doing okay up against Amazon, but Sears not so much. So
Who?
the only way to inoculate yourself against an attack from an AI native company, and that's where the startups are all really focused right now, is to become AI first as quickly as possible. And if you want
I
to know
agree.
what that is in more detail, you just said, Wendy, you want to learn more. I wrote a couple of blog posts on this on my website,
Okay.
stevebrown.ai. Go to the blog section. There's one which explains what the AI first concept is, and then there's another which gives 4 case studies from different industries of what an AI first company looks like. There's diagrams of how information flows. So hopefully unpacks that for people a bit more.
And speaking of writing, didn't you write a book about AI as well? The AI Ultimatum?
I did. I did. My second book, The AI Ultimatum, and I wrote that for senior leaders, for leaders or aspiring leaders who want to understand AI. It's written in normal people speak, so it's if I have a superpower, it's understanding complex technical stuff and explaining it in a way that everybody can get their heads around. So I wrote that for leaders, knowing that it's almost unfair, actually. We're at a time where people are busy managing their businesses and they have to know their business, whether that's finance or mining or manufacturing, whatever it is. But
Hmm.
now they're also required to understand AI, not the bits and bytes of it, but what it can do, what kind of problems you can solve with it. And it seemed unfair, so I wanted to make it as easy as I could for leaders. So it's a
That's
handbook,
excellent.
it's a how-to guide.
Excellent. I will definitely be getting that. So, as we already said, most 78% of organizations are using AI in at least one business function, but most organizations are still in the experimentation or the piloting phase. With that said,
Mm.
Gallup is saying that 50% of employees are already using AI at work, whether their employer knows it or not. So, folks that are
Yeah.
listening, get on the hey, AI usage policy ASAP, but be realistic about it because AI can be dangerous. There are risks, there are challenges, but if you do the training necessary for your employees of what they can and can't use it for, and then get the experts involved, it is going to improve productivity. Gallup saying that those employees that are already saying, hey, I'm using it, on the sly, or if it's approved, is improving their productivity 65%. So that's amazing. We always want to get more and more and more out of our employees. And now we have a tool or many tools to do that. So
Yeah.
here's my question for you. You've pointed out that many leaders don't have a clear AI vision. What are they missing?
Mm.
How is that impacting their workforce that I just said is saying, hey, we want to use it, teach us, we want to be more productive?
Yeah, I think the first part is understanding that there are those 3 steps I just talked about: enable, re-engineer, and reimagine. And realizing that your role as a leader is to understand each of those steps and really be focused on that third step. What are you trying to get to? Signing a site-wide license for Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT ain't going to cut it. You got to do that just to get your feet wet, but that's not what having vision is about. So it's really about understanding AI's potential and using a possibility thinking mindset to set really audacious goals that you can then execute on. So as a leader, it requires, I guess, curiosity to get you going. You've got to lean forward and learn about this stuff. You have to have the creativity to come up with a bold vision, and then the courage to go after it. And I guess the capability, to make sure it all happens. But here's what you have to do. You have to shift your mindset from one of managing scarcity to trying to generate abundance. What do I mean by that? Leaders today, managers, you're managing limited headcount, budget, maybe capital equipment, and you're just trying to do the best job you can with what you've got. And instead, if you can get to this AI first world, if you have the vision, what you can shift to is let that go, move to this world of abundance, and figure out how do I partner people, the people I have, with AI capabilities so I can make my team superhuman. How do I build superhuman capabilities of people, agents, and robots working together to create abundance and shift from, I guess, defending today's business to building tomorrow's? Unleash yourself. So it requires some chutzpah to step up, but it also requires people to understand what's possible. And that's what I specialize in. As an AI futurist, I get hired by management and leadership teams to help them understand in their industry, in their niche of their industry, what does that look like for them?
Dave, Pew Research says that 75% of workers are worried about job loss due to AI. How the heck can organizations implement AI in a way that makes employees still feel more valued and that they're not going to be replaced?
Yeah, I think the worst thing you can do is speak in hushed tones in corridors and have secret meetings as management teams, to figure out what your AI strategy is. That's nuts. The most important thing to do with employees is include them. It's simple. Include them in the conversation. And you
Shocker,
do,
right?
I know, yeah. But you do it for two reasons. One is kind of emotional, one's practical, I suppose. The emotional one is if you don't feel included, if you feel shut out. And I had a client that did this. They built an agentic AI solution. They went to their employees and rolled it out. And the employees are like, what the is this? I didn't ask for this. I don't want to work with AI. And they had employees quitting. They had employees, picketing. It was ugly. And
Yikes.
I asked the client, so when did you engage employees in the design process? Oh, well, we didn't. We just rolled it out to them. I'm like, well, what did you expect? So if you include people, you're going to create supporters, not saboteurs. Second reason you include people is the way that managers imagine work gets done is absolutely not the way it really gets done. And so if you design an AI solution for the world that you think exists, and you try and deploy it, you'll find it doesn't work because the way humans are enterprising. We find different ways to do stuff. And so you're designing AI for a world that doesn't exist if you don't include your employees. So the first thing a good leader does, they talk to all their employees and they clearly explain the whiffum and the whiffoo. What's in it for me as an employee? Why will my life with AI in it be better? Why will I enjoy coming to work more every day? And then the WIFU, understanding the mission statement of the company. What is it you do for people? What's your humanistic core purpose? Why do you exist? And how will AI amplify your ability to serve people better? Tell those stories. Um, you John Cotter, the great change management guy. And I was in HR for 8 years, full disclosure. So that's
All
why all this stuff.
right.
That's why all this stuff's at my fingertips. He said, paint a bold vision of the imagined future if you want to lead people there. And so you need to tell a story. What's that world look like? And use language like, amplification. And don't talk about productivity and time saving and cost cutting. Explain an exciting vision that they can want to show up and be part of. How are you going to 10x the business in 3 years? That's, how are you going to give them ownership in that future?
Right. And how are they going to be able to stay through retirement versus looking for a new job because you didn't properly explain how we're going to be using AI. We're going to be using AI to grow, not to just to cut costs. So if we're growing, we still need you, and we probably need five more employees, right?
Right, exactly, exactly. Again, it's a lack of vision. If all you see AI as is a cost-cutting exercise for labor substitution, you didn't get the memo. You don't understand what's happening now because, and you do that. What's the consequence? Imagine two companies who have equal access to technology and capital. They will substitute labor away, and they do everything they can to get rid of as many people as possible, and they remove all the differentiation from their brands. Suddenly, all they're doing is fighting to the bottom on cost, and then
Right.
nobody wins. Contrast that with a 21st century company that is amplifying what they do, delivering amazing new services, creating new products, reaching 10 times or 100 times as many customers, and suddenly, the other companies just fade to irrelevance.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, since you've been in HR, this is a possibly a huge level of disruption
Mm.
for HR strategy, not just IT strategy, as you've already said, but HR strategy as well. According to the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs reports, 44% of workers' core skills will change or will need to change by 2027. So that's scary for employees. Like, are these companies going to give them the skills? They give them the training to adapt. I'm going to say, as the HR lady, if you don't, somebody else will, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean it's an old adage now that you won't lose your job to AI, you'll lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI better than you. And so, yeah, you can wait for your company to give you the training, or you can take control of your own destiny and invest in yourself and build your own AI acumen. And so
Yeah.
I try to encourage every member of my audience to do build your own AI acumen and double down on your humanity. Build the uniquely human skills that keep you relevant in the workplace.
Right. And you don't have to be super technically savvy to use
No.
AI on even just on the surface level. And there's so many trainings out there, including here at Aurora Training Advantage. There's lots of trainings, but there's a lot of, cheat sheets that are out there, YouTube videos. So if you're even half decent in technology, you can figure it out. It's when you get into the deeper dive and connecting it to systems that you might want to go over and talk to your IT department. If companies get this AI rollout right, how does the day-to-day work experience actually change for employees?
Well, let's imagine what that world looks like, right? You now are working alongside digital employees, many of which you will manage. So, what this should do, if we get this right, it will take the suck out of people's jobs, right? The things that we don't like doing, the repetitive, boring stuff. And I'll pick a trivial example that we're all painfully familiar with. If you work in an office type environment, you need to get five people together for a meeting. You need to book a meeting room, find time when they're all available. Pain in the butt. I used to hate doing that when I worked in the corporate world. Agents will do that kind of stuff for you. So it'll take the suck out of your jobs and it should elevate your work. So everyone becomes a manager of machines. No matter how junior you are, you now become a manager. And we will shift over time from doing work to designing work for machines to do for us to then overseeing that work of machines. And I think that will lead to increased job satisfaction over time. We will get to focus on the things that give us joy. And because we're amplifying our impact with machines, we will see that impact grow exponentially. And you get to walk home from work every day thinking, God, I achieved a lot today with my team of machines working for me. So ultimately, AI should be about making life better for people. And if we can be part of that process, that has to be rewarding and exciting.
I agree. Now, my concern is with like manual labor jobs. I definitely see AI fitting in very well with professional jobs, administrative, executive, managerial. But once you get into the manual labor, where does it pop in there? Think construction.
Yeah, I think we're certainly going to see robotics involved in all manual work. It'll probably lag knowledge work, to be honest, because there's a bit more complexity involved in building robots that can, I don't expect a robot plumber to come and fix my toilet a year from now, right? That's going to take a while. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a plumber show up to my house to fix an issue, or to install a new shower or whatever it might be, with a robot assistant 2 years from now to carry the bags and hold tools and hand them what they need at the right time. Just because the dexterity and the problem solving abilities, the experience that a human plumber will have. So I expect to see humans overseeing robots and partnering with robots in these domains, and it will just allow us to do so much more. I saw some analysis that said, we're on a track to maybe by 2050 having 10 billion humanoid robots sharing the planet
Whoa.
with us. There are 8 billion humans, 10 billion robots. And there are different estimates about when that happens, but in those sorts of timeframes. Someone did the sums and figured out that if you had a small army of 5 million robots, so only 5 million out of the 10 billion, you could rebuild Manhattan in 6 months.
Whoa.
So that's the scale of amplification. So think about all the people who need homes, or all the people who want a bigger home. Now I can have a construction crew which is part human, part robot, and do so much more.
I mean, look what we're doing right now. We're on Zoom in different parts of the country having a conversation that we're going to record and put on a podcast. So we're already using technology to our advantage to save resources, save time, and to communicate and help each other out. So having how many robots? 10
10
billion?
billion.
10
10
and
billion.
I don't even know where are we going to store all them. That's a whole other conversation. But that creates some, some other issues too. Where are we going to store them? I'm sure there's going to be cooling issues. All of those things is where my mind goes. We want to just make sure though that we understand that AI can help us, and we in the management space, in the HR space, we need to really be focused on human-centered AI adoption in our workplaces and make sure that we're using it safely, because there's definitely risks with using artificial intelligence if we don't 100% train our employees, right?
Yeah. I mean, you need to. There's a lot of effort focused on training agents and robots to be able to work safely and productively in human environments. Humans also need training on how to work best with agents to some extent. How do you get the best results out of them? How do you make sure that you're, acting responsibly? What's the governance? How do you orchestrate all of these, talents, machine talent and human talent working side by side? And we've got to think through all of that. And leaders have to step up into a world that's unfamiliar. This is
Yeah.
all crazy new stuff. And that
Every
means,
day it seems to be changing.
yeah.
Every time I figure out, I think, oh, I got ChatGPT figured out. Oh, I got Claude figured out. And I'm like, nope, it's a new day. I woke up and there's been updates.
Yep.
Speaking of listeners, we did do a recent training on the very basics of how to use Claude AI in HR and management. So check it out on the Aurora Training Advantage website, if you are a member or if you want to use it. I was actually the instructor there, but I do want you to know that you do have to be careful using AI, specifically in the HR space, because if you're taking, say, I don't know, a resume and you're throwing it into the AI system to say, analyze this against my job description, which, by the way, is a totally cool thing to do, please take off their personal information unless you have enterprise grade AI. And if you don't know what that is, then you don't have it. It's the best way I can explain there, because if you're just using a publicly available AI system, do not put personal information in there, yours or anyone else's, because those AI companies use your data to build their database. And we'll kind of, well, I don't know, Steve, any final words on that?
Yeah, they're using whatever conversations you have with an AI today to train the next AI. So it all
Yeah.
goes into the training data set. So yeah, it's don't put anything confidential or personal into a public AI because you're just essentially giving it to the world for for everybody to see.
Exactly. And if your company is interested in using it for CRMs, applicant tracking system, HRIS, get with IT and probably an external consultant to get what's called enterprise grade AI, where they guarantee that data is not used for training and that inputs are siloed. So very important. So exciting, this information. Before we wrap up here, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me. I mean, I have a very boring name, so Steve Brown. My email address if you ever need to get hold of me is sb@stevebrown.ai. My website, stevebrown.ai. And a little treat for your listeners if they're thinking, well, okay, I want to build my AI acumen. How do I get started? If you go to my website and scroll down, you'll see a thing there called artificial wisdom. It's a resource I created, online resource. It's free to you. Just you can just sign up. It is podcasts you might want to listen to, books you might want to read, um, apps you might want to try on AI, white papers to read, training courses you can take on AI. So free resource with links. You're welcome to try it out.
Excellent. I will be going to that soon as we hang up here because I want to learn everything I can and know that, okay, stay away from that and you can handle this over yourself here, Wendy. Well, this has been so insightful and enlightening and a little bit of exciting too. So thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's always fun to talk about this stuff, and I'm optimistic about the future. There's a lot to worry about in our world today, and we know we need to be very careful with how we roll AI out. But I'm super excited about what AI can bring for humans and humanity.
I am too. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us.